Our next innovator leverages the power of personalized, trusted recommendations to help travelers find, excuse me, Rod, awesome things to do wherever they go. Please welcome Brittany Laughlin of gtrot.
Good morning. I'm Brittany Laughlin, and this is Zach Smith, and we're the founders of gtrot. And we are super excited to be here. So it's actually pretty fitting that we're here right next to Fort Lauderdale, because in 1919, this was actually the birthplace of the first international airlines. Now, in those 92 years, there's been a lot of travel innovation, but probably nothing as impactful to the modern travel age as the internet. So in the early 90s, the internet started as the place for information. Everyone was looking to get all their information on there. And it wasn't until the mid-90s that people decided to start transacting there. It became a marketplace that you could buy things and sell things. And pretty soon, this got smarter. Within a year or two, there were things like Amazon recommended, if you read this book, you might want to also read this book. So taking all those transactions and making something very smart about it. And then probably most recently, which you've heard a lot about today in the conference, is social. 2004 was the launch of Facebook, which has revolutionized the way that people transact on the internet today. But what this left us with is a lot of fragmentation. There's hundreds of travel sites out there. Booking, hotels, social sites, people trying to tell you, oh, your friends are going to tell you what to do, or smarter ways to find a flight. But this is a Travel Innovation Summit. We're here to talk about what's next in travel. And what that is personalization. So bringing all of this information from both your social and the transactions and what you've purchased before and all of the information on the internet into one place. So I'd like to introduce you guys to gtrot. So imagine that you stayed in Tuscany 6 months ago, and you checked in there, and then 6 months later, you get a recommendation to go to Napa Valley to check out the wineries there. Or imagine you like Arcade Fire on Facebook. What does that like get you? Well, what if we could serve you, say, hey, Arcade Fire is playing at Coachella, here's tickets, here's a hotel offer, and 2 of your friends are already going to be there. Imagine a world where you don't just have to go to Google search to find out things that you want to do. You can actually go more of a browse route, something like Pinterest, where you can say, I follow these people and I trust their advice first. This helps battle the big SEO monster that travel has to deal with every day. So this is what we're thinking at gtrot. We want to be the place where we already know who you are. You log in with Facebook. We know what you like. We know what you've purchased in the past. We know what your friends are doing and what your friends want to do. And we also have all of this smart information across the web, including things like where you go to book, where the map is, where it's located, all in one place. So now Zach my co-founder, is going to walk you through how this works.
Thanks, Brittany. So this is the first version of gtrot that we launched about 2 weeks ago. It starts out with a very simple question, where are you going? And optionally, your travel dates. And we ask the user to sign in with Facebook. If you're not convinced yet, we can give you generic results. And what we've done here is we've aggregated all sorts of awesome things to do in your destination, in this case, New York, from interesting content providers that you wouldn't necessarily think of, like Facebook and Foursquare. They've amassed massive databases of local businesses and user-generated content around that. I think you saw one of the second things that came up in my grid to New York was Occupy Wall Street. I think it's safe to say that would not be in a guidebook. Because there's so much buzz about it in social media, it's one of the first things you see as an awesome thing to do in New York. These are restaurants, nightlife, museums, activities in your destination. They're all filterable. So if I just wanted to see what are my food options in New York, we'll show you some generic trending recommendations in terms of restaurants, aggregate photos and reviews from across multiple different networks with a single call to action. Save the things you like, hide the things you don't. It's actually pretty simple. Alongside these traditional venues, places of interest, we've seeded events happening while you're there. Adele's playing in New York this weekend, and also daily deals from hundreds of sites like Groupon that you can buy now and redeem while you're traveling. Our algorithm tries to filter out ones of interest to travelers not laser hair removal. But things get very interesting when you log in and start connecting your accounts to gtrot, your Facebook, your Foursquare, your Twitter. This is where our technology makes some real magic happen. We create an instantly personalized grid of things to do in your destination based firstly and primarily on passive signals from your social network, check-ins and likes from Facebook and Foursquare. So this is my grid for my trip to New York. You'll now see thumbnail images of my friends on top of every single grid item, indicating at least one person who's been there. And if you click on an item, you can see exactly who's been there. In this case, 3 friends from Foursquare. You'll see we've aggregated and combined these venues across multiple sources and ranked them based on how popular they are. And one of the coolest things to see is how different my trip to New York looks compared to someone else's with just this simple, instant, no-hassle personalization. And I think we're one of the first people to do it on the web very well and in real time. Here you can see me saving some things for my trip. It drops right into my saved category. And our mobile device coming out, our mobile product coming out in 2 weeks will make it super simple for me to carry that on the road. So instantly personalized discovery for any city, along with deals and other interesting content, is a key piece of gtrot. Where I think it gets really exciting is when you can sort of bring your friends on board for more sort of active recommendations. So here's me buying a deal on Gilt City that I saw in my grid. Along the bottom of gtrot, you'll see 2 buttons, one that's friends who live here and friends who have been there. We parse megabytes of data from your social network, your friend's education history, work history, current location, hometown, check-ins to figure out everywhere in the world we think they've been or where they live. And with a single tap, you can bring these people into this space, and instead of saving or removing something from the grid, they give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So on top of this instant layer of personalization, that's pretty cool instant value, you start getting recommendations that surface new and more interesting things. And so this becomes sort of a dynamic grid. We encourage users via email to come back, see what's new on their grid in terms of deals and recommendations, and simply put together a list of great things to do. Now, this is obviously just the beginning. The social signals are an awesome base. We're also starting to look at how we can figure out, based on your interests on Facebook, what you've liked. That maybe you would like to see some content from Let's Go, one of our content providers, and enrich the experience that way, not just through social signals, but through interest graph data. And of course, users have a profile where they can manage the cities they're exploring, the things they've saved there, with some simple gaming mechanics around badges and points. And you'll see me do that in a second. But these are my saved items for my trip to New York on Thursday. Some fun things to do. You can see my trip to Hollywood here as well. And I don't know, some badges I've earned. So we think this is a great way to really bring social into the fray in a way that doesn't require your friends to do a whole lot, at least off the bat. And then when you do ask them to give advice, we can save that, influence your grid, and help you make a really social travel experience.
So I know that's a lot of information to take in, but I think what it best translates to is, imagine you have a hotel and someone uses Foursquare to check in. Now that place is tagged with that friend's information. So if they were a friend of mine, that would rank higher in my results versus other hotels that maybe have the best rating or have the best SEO placement. This is actually crowdsourced sort of travel, but it's all done in the back end with our technology. So we can pull from sources across the web, whether you're a transaction site, you do hotel bookings, you do flight bookings, you do restaurant reservations, or whether you do content. We've already worked with a bunch of content partners to help put their content in front of the people that actually want them. So instead of going to Google to sort of search for things to do in Hollywood, Florida, you say, hey, I'm going to Hollywood, Florida, why don't you tell me what to do? And gtrot does that for you. And we do think that social is a huge component of this, but we think that it can be a very empty space if none of your friends have ever been to Hollywood, Florida before. So every result that we have for your friends comes up, but if you don't have any results from friends, then we use the best information out there that we can find. So that about wraps it for me, but yeah, I'll head over here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your presentation.
Yes.
I think, again, like I said with others, there's a lot of competition in that field, obviously because there's a need and everybody would like to have a recommendation for a trip and have a personalized experience when they travel. Two main things I would say. I think this is useful as long as you've got quality of data.
Yes.
And I'm not sure you can get that from your network directly, so I think there needs to be either a filter or there's need a way to have good quality of data. The second thing is, I think pictures can tell a big story and can be very good for people to make a decision and be drawn to a destination or an activity. I find the quality of your pictures was so low. I assume it's because you're using free stuff that you can...
So we're using Foursquare as our main basis.
Yeah.
We are pulling from...
Because I went to your site and did a few searches just to get an idea, and the pictures I got, I did Montreal, which I come from, were not relevant at all to the activities you were recommending, so I think that's a flaw. And one quick question, business model, how do you make money?
Yeah, so we're already making revenue because we basically are strong lead generation for all of these sites. So we take an affiliate type of revenue from hotel bookings, flight bookings, restaurant reservations. We pull from daily deal sites like Groupon, Living Social to show you what's relevant, and we make in between 12 and 30% of all of those purchases. Yeah, and we currently offer we have 102 partners to date, both on the transaction side as well as the content side.
Let me just chime in. Killer UI. This is
Thank
the
you.
way anybody under the age of 30 uses the web. They don't watch TV. They do this all night long. My 27-year-old daughter, when I watch her, she just flies through it, and this is how she travels.
Great.
Okay. I also recommend you hang out and take a look at what Charles is going to say at Group Eyes later today.
Yes.
And you guys either have to get together and kill each other or do a deal. Because he's doing 5-person group deals too. And this idea of social commerce on group deals is a very powerful concept. And your front end on that is, I think, pretty cool.
Great. And what we've seen is that a lot of travel is people already know the destination. Everyone here knew they were coming to Hollywood, Florida, and it's just great to sort of get restaurant recommendations and potentially deals even if you've been there before, so it's not as much about like what's the best thing to do and
Right. So when you show to the demos, select people to share with, I just view that as select people to spam. I mean, every time I get that, I turn off the app. Chirp, aha, tried that.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that when people receive a gtrot query, which I actually have gotten, that they don't do what I did, which is simply disable the app, because that's just one more invasion of the space that I may not be wanting to converse with.
Yeah.
So I think that's a challenge.
So we've launched in May, and we found that actually pulls in 1.2 new users every time people specifically direct it to their wall. So we're not mass spamming.
I'm going to push back on that, Simon, because I think last year we saw one thing in social travel. This year we're seeing another thing in social travel, and we haven't seen it all yet. And next year we're going to see some more things. So I completely agree. If it comes to me unannounced, you're toast.
Yeah.
But if it comes to me because I'm your pal, it's different. Now the question is, how big can you get? How does that scale? How many people who know each other are going to come through you with their social graph? And I think that's what Jim's really saying, is that you're not going to get this mail to the phone book. You're going to get this mail to your friends on Facebook. And I think it's starting to happen. In your app, I'm starting to see that happen. So we've had our first American Idol moment here.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Oh, dog. Yeah.